And so if everyone can acknowledge this. Hey, so welcome everyone to Gentle Yoga for Health. It's always a delight to come together in community in this way to explore the teachings of yoga and mindfulness, to also explore the inner landscape of simply being present with ourselves in this dedicated way. So I just want to take a moment before we shift into the movement practice to say, first of all, there'll be about 10 minutes at the end when we'll do a dedicated yoga nidra practice or a body scan, if you will. So you might want to make a mental note of that now in case you want to shift from a seated position to maybe moving onto a couch or a yoga mat, just making sure you're set up for that portion of the class when we get there. And then just greeting your breath, just noticing as we begin. I'm going to say a few words, but I just want you to come home to yourself in this moment by the simple awareness of the body breathing. And is there a little bit of gratitude? Is there a little bit of uplift or joy when you turn your attention inward and you simply meet this elixir of life known as breath? So, in our chronically amped up, overstressed culture, okay, perhaps our most precious commodity is our attention. So, I invite you to consider as we work together this afternoon, what are some of the guardrails that you may have in place to protect the commodity of attention? A lot of what we're looking at with mindfulness and with yoga is supporting ourselves with an education that has to do with aligning attention with the present moment. So, for example, I know that I have to limit the amount of tech time that I have to protect my attention. I know that limiting the amount of news that I watch supports my ability to go into a more secluded state of mind. So I just invite you to consider, what are your guardrails for attention? Which one of the main guardrails that we use in yoga and mindfulness is mindfulness itself. So when we're paying attention from a place of mindfulness, we're learning to step back a bit from the rising and falling of moods, the rising and falling of what may be going on in terms of bodily sensations if we're feeling challenged. It's like we're watching a movie. When we're practicing mindfulness, it's a bit like stepping back and watching a movie. And just like when we watch a movie, right? It's like we can get stuck in rewind where we're in our minds, for example, we're replaying something that happened earlier, or we can get stuck in fast forward. So when we're watching the movie or practicing mindfulness, we're bringing attention right here, right now, using the vehicle of the senses to support us in arriving in the direct experience of this moment. So we'll go right into our dedicated practice now. So if you need to adjust your sitting posture to be a bit more comfortable, if you want to perhaps sit back, maybe allowing the eyes to close or softening the gaze. So we're taking this attention that's generally outwardly focused, and now we're turning it inward. Again, beginning with that greeting of the breath, that reliable resource, the breath being known. Can you feel into perhaps sensations of the nostrils, the little musculature of the nose drawing the breath in? Can you feel that subtle little relaxation and release, maybe of the diaphragm or the shoulders as you breathe out? So letting the breath perhaps be a home base that you can return to again and again. Just this breath here flowing in, and just this breath here leaving the body. And then expanding your awareness to also the direct experience of the influence of gravity on the body. So, where are you most aware of a sense of rootedness or groundedness? Perhaps feeling that in the buttocks, the thighs, the feet. Can you feel that sense of the earth element truly that you are in the flesh and bones of the body? And then the breath, the breeze of the breath, the wind element. And from here, I invite you to just sit back a little bit on your sit bones. So you're just going to rock back slightly. And as you do, you're just going to like tuck the tailbone. So you might want to place a hand as we start above the pubic bone, a hand at the bottom of the rib cage, and you're just getting like a little bit of an abdominal crunch on here. Take a few breaths, see if you can feel this sense of engagement of the core muscles. I like to think of the torso being a little shrink wrapped here. Everything kind of draws in. And then from here, I want you to press your sit bones in. On your next breath, imagine like you're breathing from the pelvic floor all the way up the central axis of the spine. So we're feeling a little uplift. You can release the hands here. Let the shoulders relax at the top of the canister of the torso, but we're sitting with this sense of dignity, this sense of interest and curiosity in this dwelling known as the body. As we begin our movement practice, again, turning attention inward, honoring your limits, and we'll begin with a little bit of music. So starting off, just coming right into seated mountain as I bring this in. And as we sit here with this sense of alert engagement, abdominal muscles drawn in, tailbone slightly tucked, we're just going to inhale and see if the arms can rise with that draft of breath. We're going to do a few sun breaths here. So we're turning the hands out as we exhale, releasing down. See if you can just explore the inner landscape of sensations, softening the gaze or closing the eyes if that's right for you. We'll do this 2 more times with awareness, this quality of gathering, arms rising to that just right place for you today with the breath. Continuing to keep that engaged core, that sense of curiosity. Returning here, we're going to come right back to this seated mountain posture. Take a moment, a sense of uplift through the chest. Again, core is engaged. We'll go right through a flowing sequence. And then eventually I'll invite those of you that want to come to standing. So again, we're just going to inhale the arms up shoulder height. Fingertips coming into the shoulders, left and right. So we're just kind of encouraging a little lubrication here, a little mobility of the shoulders. Continuing to sit with that engaged, alert presence. Inhale the arms out, a little bit of a flexion of the wrist here. See if you can roll the shoulders up and back and down. Come to stillness. Now really embody awareness of the hands, the fingers as you flex and rotate. Fingers pointed forward like we're hugging a tree. I don't know what your tree is. Mine's usually an oak. I'm just going to draw in. I'm going to inhale. I'm opening on that diagonal. Exhale back to the tree. Going to the other side. Letting the movement follow your breath, or like you're pulling taffy on the diagonal. Gonna do this one more time to either side. Kind of waking up the fascia, the outer casing of all of the muscles, all of the organs, the bones, the matrix of the body, if you will. Come back to the tree, and we're gonna weave the fingers together. We're gonna press out, scoop and hollow, coming into flexion. So notice your back body here. Continuing to pull the belly button in. We're going to inhale as the hands come up, a little bit of an extended spine. Keep that tailbone tucked. Exhale, releasing down, hands coming to the thighs, the knees, if you will. So we're just going to draw the knees in. We're going to go on ahead and draw the arms in. We're going to release the head one more time, coming into flexion, a few breaths here. Inhale like a sprouting vine. You're going to rise up, elbows horizontal as you exhale, rotating to the right, gaze to the left, come back on the breath. Exhaling in the opposite direction. So just say hello to your thoracic spine, the upper back, the back side of the heart. Getting a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of space perhaps coming in. Come back to neutral here. This time as you inhale, like petals of a flower, we're going to let the legs open, the arms are going to open. We're coming into this wide angle. And then as we exhale, we're going to draw everything into the midline. Let that opposite arm come on top, drawing in. Inhale, opening, expanding. The core is on. And one more time, arms changing place. Opening to your just right place. We'll do this one more time to either side. And then we're just going to pause, in this expanded place of taking up space. We've got our tailbone tucked, bottom of the ribs drawn in, the shrink wrap is on, and now we're just going to kind of explore a deeper rotation left and right. Come back to neutral. Let your hands come down to your hips. Heel toe the feet in slightly. With the tailbone tucked, we're just going to imagine the torso like a bit of a top. And we're exploring movement here. Staying present with the breath. Changing direction when you're ready. Come back to neutral. Pausing, noticing, letting your attention, your hands perhaps rest again on the canister of your torso. Closing the eyes, just a mindful pause here. We're going to go on ahead and slide the hands down. We're coming into a bit of a forward bend here. So again, always honoring your limits. You can pause here. Chin is slightly tucked. See if you can find that just right place. Our first time in a forward bend to get that stretch in your low back. And then letting the breath, imagining the breath coming into the sacral area. Noticing whatever is arising in the field of awareness. From this place, again, this quality of stepping back into the witnessing, like watching that movie with a bit of interest and curiosity. If it feels right to go further, again, if you have any glaucoma and medicated high blood pressure or infections of the head and throat, or if you feel lightheaded, not going further, then letting your torso be parallel. But if it feels right, you can go into a deeper bend here. If it feels right, you can bring a little bit of movement into the spine, the head, the neck. And slowly, when you're ready, come back to stillness. One more time. Draw that belly button away from your shirt, hands coming up to the thighs. We're slowly going to rise up with the breath. We're going to heel toe the feet in, coming back to that seated mountain here, if you will. We'll take a moment, and those of you that want to come to standing can come to standing for this portion of our practice. And for today, I'll join you there. Those that choose to remain seated, that works out just fine too. So taking a moment, moving your chair aside if you're coming to standing. And you might, also consider the chair as a prop. So what I want to work on now is a little bit of balance. So again, tailbones tucked, bottom of the ribs drawn in, shoulders relaxed at the top of the canister. Take a moment here, and we're just going to inhale. And if you're seated, you can do this too. You're coming up on your toes. Find that focal point on the horizon, arms rising up. Exhale, coming back down. Again, using the chair, that's right action and wise relationship, rising up. You might want to pause here on full. Exhale, coming back down. We'll do this 3 more times. And coming back into stillness, coming back into the mountain posture, closing your eyes, taking a mindful pause, a little survey of, again, any sensations in the body, any emotions that may be passing through, like watching that movie, thoughts of the thinking mind. Take a few deeper, fuller breaths here. Again, we're tucking that tailbone, lifting and lengthening as we press the feet in or the sit bones in. As we continue, we're going to inhale. The arms are going to rise up, catching that draft of breath. We're exhaling, hands to heart. Let's inhale as we draw the wings of the elbows in. We're weaving the fingers. Exhale, we're going to press out, sit back, scoop and hollow. Pause here for a few breaths. Chest is proud. We're going to inhale as we rise up. Beautiful. We're going to bring the palms together. Exhale down to the midline. Weave your fingers together in a temple position. Inhaling, arms rising up. We're going to exhale as we open that right side body. Find that just right place for you to come into crescent moon. The gaze may or may not follow that arm. And breathing, tailbones tucked. See if you can isolate the breath in the mid-torso, in the rib cage, and feel the ribs opening left and right. Like gill breathing as you exhale, the ribs drawing back in. Again, on a breath, we're going to rise up. We're going to exhale once more. We're going to inhale as we tuck our wings, weave the fingers. Exhale, sit back in chair posture. Inhaling, rising up. Exhale to return. Pausing here, noticing. One more time, a breath, that sense of gathering. Exhale. We're going to weave the fingers into temple as we inhale, coming back up. And now opening the left side body. Find that just right place. Continuing to honor your limits. So if something isn't feeling just right, we never push ourselves beyond wise relationship, wise action. Discomfort, is not what we're going for. So we're going to inhale, back up on a breath. We're going to exhale again. As we inhale, we tuck our wings, we weave our fingers, we sit back. Pause here. Pressing out. Feel that opening behind the heart center again. Rising up with a breath. Exhale, the return. And then honoring the body's natural instincts of how it wants to move and explore. Just feeling, again, we keep that shrink wrap, that core, everything draws in to keep us nice and safe, like the hub that it is, but then the limbs can move and play. Let's come back. We're going to leave the palms in this time. If you're standing, the feet are a little wider. Same thing as if you're seated. We get that core engaged. We're going to get some stress and gunk out of the shoulders now. So we're going to inhale the arm bones up. We're going to hold here for a count of 3. Really make it worth your while. Exhale with a sigh. Let those shoulders go back and down. Inhale, scrunching and holding. Exhale, the letting go. One final time, embodied presence, attention knowing the scrunch. And exhale, the letting go. Take a moment, we're just going to do a little empty coat sleeve rotation. And floating back to stillness, come back to the mountain. Close your eyes for just a moment, if that feels right. And as if your attention is stepping back, a relaxed attention, like the lens of a camera, again, just noticing this body being seen by your attention in the realm of sensation, from the bottoms of the feet, kissing ground all the way up, the limbs being known, front body being known, sensations being known on the back body, the whole of you. Take a few deeper, fuller breaths here. Again, see if you can isolate that breath in the mid-torso, the rib cage opening left and right like an umbrella. Soft gaze as we continue our journey of mindful attention. We're going to inhale the arms up with the breath. And we're going to step wide into 5-pointed star. So if you're seated, again, you're coming into a wider stance here. Once again, we're always making sure we've got the abs turned on, that little bit of a tuck. Everything is drawn into the midline here. So for those of you that are standing, just placing your hands on your hips, we're going to lift the toes of the right foot and we're pivoting them towards the wall on the right. We're going to lift the toes of the left foot and those are going to go on a diagonal. So we're doing this if we're seated too. Heels are intersecting. And then We're going to let that right knee come over the ankle. So you might want to inch the toes out a little bit. So when we're practicing mindfulness, we want to keep ourselves safe. It's not like we're hyper-focused on alignment. It's more like we're focused on somatic awareness, what's happening in the landscape of sensation. Again, get your tuck on, bringing the arms up when you're ready. Coming into Warrior Two, gaze is over the fingertips. Pausing here and breathing. Embodied presence, can you feel, again, where you're making contact with earth and ground? Can you take a breath again and imagine you're breathing from the pelvic floor up, a little lengthening through the spine to the sternum. Shoulders relaxed and down, chest is proud. We'll go through a flow sequence 3 times. We're going to exhale the head and the hands coming together. We're going to come back on an in-breath. Turn that right hand up as we exhale, going into reverse warrior here. Flowing back up with your breath. Exhale, forearm to thigh, diagonal. Again, rising back up with that breath, pausing here, noticing. We'll go through this 2 more times in silence. Beautiful, strong, vulnerable, open to life in this body, in this moment. Let's go on ahead. We're going to release the hands back to the hips. Let's straighten both legs, pivot the toes forward, and then a slight little diagonal so the toes turn out. So we can play, again, the operative word with a little movement here. As long as this feels like right action for the body. Play with being breathed. Keeping that tuck on. And we're just going to come into this gesture of goddess or sun god. So palms facing in, chest is proud. Breathing here. So can I feel both that sense of pressing in the body, the feet, the sit bones perhaps, and that sense of uplift that supports. Take a moment as you straighten the legs and the arms. We're just going to heel toe the feet in. One more time, we're going to exhale, palms together, weave the fingers, draw the little wings in, and then we're going to press out again on the next out breath. Come into this seated chair posture. Pressing through the feet, rising up with the breath. Exhale, the sweet return. And just kind of get squiggly wiggly. Enjoying this relationship, this tuning in to the inner landscape, noticing and allowing the body to receive your good attention. So nourishing to come home. Return back to our starting posture of the mountain. Take a moment, feet pressing in, abs engaged, arms rising up with the breath. One more time, we're going to step wide, coming into 5-pointed star. tailbones tucked, shoulders rolling them up and back and down a bit. Again, if you want to place your hands on your hips, that's probably wise relationship. You also have your chair for support. For those of you standing, we're lifting the toes of the left foot, pivoting them towards the wall to the left. Toes of the right foot coming in slightly. Left knee bends so that it's over the ankle, making sure that you can see your toes. Again, keeping the knee stable and safe. Get your crunch on. Arms coming out, coming into warrior two. So notice, where can I feel a sense of softening in? Maybe the shoulders coming down, maybe pulling the belly button away from your shirt. We'll go through this first one slowly as we exhale, head and hands coming together. Opening on the in-breath. Left palm turns up. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale as you return. Exhaling into diagonal. Beautiful. Flowing warrior, coming back up with a breath, pausing. Noticing. 2 more times in silence. Pausing here, straightening that leg, hands to the hips, toes turning forward. Take a moment, make sure you've got your abs turned on. And we're going to come into kind of a wide angle here. Inhale the arms up. Again, get your core engaged. Roll those shoulders up and back and down. Imagine as you inhale the hands like going up a wall of air, fingers spread widely. As you exhale, feel the shoulder blades softening. Chest is proud, tailbones tucked. Inhale, rising up. Beautiful. Exhale, return 2 more times. So occupying the real estate of the body with your attention. We're going to straighten the legs now. 1 more time, hands coming to the hip crease. Let's heel toe the feet in. Beautiful. So those of you that are standing, come into this gentle hip rotation. Maybe you want your feet to be a little wider. If you're seated, you're coming back into that sense of a top rotation. Or instead, you can just listen to what the body wants to do. I think of this a bit like getting the can of the WD-40 out, which is what we're doing, right? We're lubricating the joints, increasing synovial fluid and the spine, the hips, the shoulders. And when you're ready, you can kind of melt back into stillness, come back to this basic posture known as the mountain. Closing your eyes here, a mindful pause. Again, like you're shining this gentle light, this gentle lens on the direct experience being known. Like you're looking at yourself with kind eyes. And a soft gaze here. We'll go into a spinal rotation. We're going to take that right hand up and just feel how you get this nice little juicy stretch in the pecs and the deltoid as you open and you give a little TLC to the mid-back, especially around the kidneys and the adrenals. Sometimes we're not even aware of how clutched and gripped we can get in that part of our body. And then let the hand come to that just right place for support. Again, tailbone's tucked, bottom of the ribs drawn in. We press through our contact points of the sit bones or the feet. And then we inhale that opposite arm up, shoulder height. As we exhale, we're watching this arm track across the body. Fingertips pressing in, inhale, lifting, exhale, a gentle rotation. Drawing everything into the midline. See if you can soften through the shoulders. See if you have this sense as you breathe in, again, like you're breathing from the pelvic floor and the spine is lifting and lengthening. The gaze perhaps rotating a bit more. Taking about 4 or 5 deeper breaths. As if each exhalation pulls that belly button gently away from your shirt. After your next in-breath, we're just going to exhale this arm, returning with awareness. Coming back to Tadasana, closing your eyes here if that's right action, noticing the right hemisphere of the body. Noticing the left hemisphere of the body. Again, as if you're breathing up that central axis between the legs, all the way to the heart center. Shoulders are relaxed and down, chin is slightly tucked. As we take that left hand again and we're exploring contact here, the opening of the chest on this side. That hand eventually settling in like you've got your back. What is that feeling in the body of feeling like you've got your back here? Tucking the tailbone again, bottom of the ribs drawn in. We're going to inhale that opposite arm up. The witnessing, the eyes tracking this arm, coming across. Fingers pressing in, inhale, lifting. Exhale, a gentle rotation. Taking a few fuller mindful breaths, like you're lovingly wringing the washcloth of the torso here. After an in-breath, we're just going to, again, exhale the witnessing, the return of the arm. Coming back, pausing. And when you're ready, just that wisdom to respond to any urge to move. You might want to let the head be a little freer. You might want to explore some movement in the shoulders or a little bit of a lateral stretch side to side. Empty coat sleeve rotations. And maybe a little bit of awe that the body is capable of so many variations of movement. And stepping back like you're watching the movie of awe. And from here, as we wind down a bit, those of you that are standing, I invite you to come back into your chair. So a few more minutes of practice involving a little core strengthening, a little bit of engagement with the lower extremities. So sitting a little more forward on your chair here. And again, the cue to draw the bottom of the ribs in, to rock back, tuck the tailbone. We're going to let the legs be wide to that just right place. So you might be getting this little juicy adductor stretch in the inner thighs, if you will. Not too much, not too little. And then we're stacking the fists like we're creating this butter churn or this pot, this cauldron, and we're stirring the pot or churning the butter. Again, everything shrink wrapped, the belly button drawn away from the shirt, sit bones pressing in. Oh yeah, and deeper, fuller breaths. So here's the mindfulness practice. Can you stay present with all that's going on here? If not, you might need to go a little slower. Watching the movie of you moving in this way. And changing direction. And when you're ready, just kind of melt back into stillness. Let your feet be a little wider. Let's do one more forward bend. I'm going to give you the side view of how we keep our spine safe. Again, that little bit of a tuck. You can see this is a hyperextended spine, which can get us into trouble, right? We're taxing the back. We're crunching some of the vertebral bones, the space in there. So we always want to keep that little bit of a tuck, a little bit like your abs are fired up and turned on. Hands on the thighs, pressing your sit bones in. You're lifting and growing tall, and you're going to exhale here, hinging forward, making the decision for how far forward to go based on what's right for you in this moment. You might want to go into a little juicy stretching side to side. You might want to let yourself be a little more fully breathed. Coming back to stillness when you're ready. Just tuck that tailbone, rising up with the breath. Returning back to the seated mountain. And we'll go into a little bit of lower leg work. So our hands are going to be on the hips. What I want you to do here is you're just going to draw that right thigh in. I'll come back to a straight on view. We're going to draw that right thigh in. And we're just going to, if you need to hold on, that's great. We're just going to wake up the ankle and the foot. And then it's like we're doing a little bit of one-legged bicycling. So we inhale as we draw in, we exhale as we press through that heel and straighten out. Continuing to keep the core nice and engaged. Two more times. And then we're just going to release that leg, hand stack on the thigh, and we're going to slowly come into what's called the head to knee posture, a gentle low back hamstring stretch. Take a few deeper breaths as if you're breathing behind your kneecap, breathing down this peninsula of leg. And when you're ready, getting that core on, rising up with a breath, drawing that leg in, come back to your resting posture of the mountain. A few drafts of breath here. Just kind of bow the chin here. We haven't done a whole lot with the neck and head, so just kind of begin to explore movement here. Remembering our key principles that less is more and slow is deep in terms of taking us into somatic awareness. Come back when you're ready. to stillness. Abs turned on as we go to the other side. Say hello to this little guy here that makes so much possible in your life, known as the foot, the ankle. When you're ready, you can go into that one-legged bicycling. And then we're slowly going to let that leg return, hands sliding down this thigh, head to knee posture. A few breaths here. And then again, belly button drawn away from your shirt as you rise up slowly with a breath. And then I just invite you in our last moment here of movement, just see if there's anything that's being requested. Body, again, honoring its intuitive wisdom. It knows what it wants. And very gently and slowly coming back to stillness as we begin to segue into a yoga nidra practice, a body scan practice. So if there's any adjustments you might want to make, perhaps stretching the body out long or sitting back more in your chair, whatever will allow you to be a bit more comfortable. And then once you're there, it feels right to bring, again, attention inward, closing the eyes or softening the gaze. And beginning to notice what has your back. Right? Maybe the chair, if you're seated, just let your back be had. If you're reclined out long on the ground, maybe it's the earth, feeling the contact points of the back body, feeling that support that's available there. And then exploring with this sense of curiosity, exploring all the various parts of the body that are in relationship via support. So maybe the buttocks, whatever relationship you have with the ground, the chair, the felt sense of contact there. And then as you breathe, imagining as you breathe in, that relationship is being known as if you're energetically drawing in energy from those contact places. And as you breathe out, as if you're maybe dropping roots even deeper into that relationship of support. And imagining the body almost a bit amorphous, this ground of being, this ground of awareness. Again, maybe a little marveling, a little awe at all the sensations being known. And this presence of accompanying yourself with kind eyes, kind eyes. Letting your attention move to the crown of the head. Noticing the crown of the head, any sensations here. Attention encompassing the back of the head and the sides of the head, feeling into all the little muscles of the scalp, and with each exhalation, perhaps inviting for a little bit of softening. Tension moving into the brow and around the eyes, moving into the hinge of the jaw, the cheeks, the ears. Can you feel the little wisp of air flowing in and out of the nostrils? Tension moving down into the neck and throat, the little pieces of neck, the little vertebral bones held in awareness, sensations in the throat, perhaps the movement of breath here being known. Tension moving down into the shoulders, the upper back, chest, and the movement of the ribs, the way the lungs cradle the heart. Attention sliding down through the upper arms, noticing the elbows left and right, the forearms, sliding into the wrists and the hands and the digits, pausing here, awareness blossoming in the hands and fingers. And the movement of the breath, this dear companion, this life force, if you will, known as breath. Attention sliding further down the body into the belly and the low back, spilling down into the glutes, the thighs, the genitals. Tension spilling into the knees and lower legs. And awareness kissing the ankles and the feet, kissing the little toes all the way to the very tip of this fathom long body. And again, this quality of attention as if you're stepping back, looking through that movie camera, noticing the body as a whole, from the tips of the toes to the crown of the head, the whole of you, the body being breathed. And feeling again that breeze of the breath. And taking a few deeper breaths here as we draw in whatever qualities, whatever awareness, anything we might want to fill up our basket as we draw our practice to a close that we may want to take with us. And if you choose to bring a little bit of movement back into the head or the shoulders, letting the eyes begin to receive light. And if you choose to draw this to a close, perhaps the hands with a gesture of a prayer, or the hands over the heart, perhaps a bow, a nod to the wisdom that brings you home in this way again and again. Namaste. And I thank you